Sheila.
A little icy here on the stairs.
Hey, you be good, okay? How good this video is going to turn out. Careful, what's up? Oh, wow.
Come on in, guys.
Here we go.
Well,
Oh
they're,
my gosh.
I think they're safety glass. Yeah, you say you can walk. Got lots of walks and lots of grandkids, so I figured I'd better put safety glass in.
Smart.
Because you're completely underground here. You're about the ground is about right here at the front. And I bermed it up in the back. So the back wall, I think, ended up being about, with the footings, about, what was it, 15 feet tall. And this one was, with the footings, I think 9 or 10. But it's been a lot of fun. This is the first year. I'm in my second year now. I finished it in December of last year and didn't do anything until March. And I started planting my seeds in here on the 15th of March. And I got my first tomatoes the very first day of June.
Wow.
And I haven't eaten any tomatoes yet in January, but I'll get a few.
Yeah. So they're almost perennial. I mean, they're still alive.
Yeah, they'll. What I don't know is will they come back from their roots? You know, because the days are now getting longer, as you know, almost a month, and it makes a huge difference.
Wow.
But the plants, I think they froze a little bit. I've never seen it freezing in here, but they might have. But they don't get the photosynthesis on the days that we have a lot of cloud cover. But this place went nuts last year. It looked like a jungle. You couldn't walk in between these rows without breaking branches. It was just everything, everywhere. It was beautiful.
Is that lovage or celery? They're right in front of you.
This is celery.
That's celery, and it's still alive, and that is really, really sensitive to hard frost.
I'm not sure. I mean, I've never seen it grown here, so it probably is. So I know it hasn't froze hard in here.
What, honey?
But what I did is I took a celery plant that you get at the store, whacked it off, ate the celery, about that much of a plant left, and then I took a styrofoam cup, about like that, and you put a little bit of water in, and you put the celery knob back in there, and it takes about a month or so, but then it starts growing roots.
Wow.
And that's this plant right here was a celery I bought at the store.
Wow.
Then I had a little knot, you know, at the top, they have that little kind of you have the long shoot, and then you have the little joint, and then there's a little top where the branch, where the leaves were. Well, I had a little piece about that long right there, so I stuck him in there, and he didn't grow roots, but he grew nodules. So I stuck him in the ground, and then he grew up to be a, not huge plant, but decent size, but he started flowering, and he blasted seeds everywhere. So I had probably...
That's what all that is?
Yeah, I had 500-600 baby celery
so hard to grow here.
All those are celeries there I've transplanted. I pulled out probably 200 or 300.
You got strawberries and aloe. Is that an aloe?
Uh-huh.
You got an aloe growing out here. And you got...
look, there's a big one right there.
Yeah. Here's a cauliflower.
And a cauliflower that's still producing.
Yeah.
You've got mint in the background. Is that mint?
Yeah, there's 6 or 7 different kinds of herbs that are still doing just fine. That's a rose bush my mom wanted me to put here. This is some kind of flower she wanted me to put in here.
Wow.
And this is mint.
So you don't have any kind of light. It's just that, is it just that it's steeper and deeper that he still has enough light to keep things going?
I don't think it's that as much as it is. I think I'm deeper in the ground. Yeah.
So you're below the frost level, so you get heat from the ground.
Joseph is too. Yeah, he is too. I'm just deeper. But see, you go down 4 feet, and I'm getting the same amount that he is. I think my roof, maybe Joseph is better insulated than you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, but other than that, I don't think there's a lot of difference. Mine's just, I made mine bigger.
Wow.
But I went over to Joseph's house a year and a half ago, and he said it's Walipini, and it was in the middle of the first part of April.
Yeah, something like that.
And
when picked his brain.
Well, I walked in there and it was like 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And today, well, if this says 100 and almost 10, here it's 110. Back here it's not. You know, so.
But that's not uncomfortably
No,
cold. I mean,
no.
it's chilly, but it's,
No.
I'll bet you it's, well, warmer than it is outside. I know
About
that.
freezing, yeah.
And what base did you use? Since you have the raised beds, you don't have to worry about drainage or anything, but what are you using for your medium?
Well, what I did is it's a dirt floor, then I put in about 6 inches of gravel. Of course, that's my drainage. I wanted to put in raised beds because someday when I'm old, and I'd be 90 years old in here, and I can come in and use these if I need that, and I can easily reach from both sides. So that's why it's designed the way that it is. This is the square foot garden
So
soil
same
mix.
thing as what Joseph recommended.
And it's easy, and it's expensive, but once you have it, from then on, you don't replace the vermiculite, you don't replace the peat moss, you just replace the compost, and you can make that yourself. And you never need to fertilize it if you use that system.
Boy, if you threw in some worms in this,
I haven't.
as I say,
Well,
they need all your peat moss, you just left a straight cast.
yeah, you'd have to replenish it, but
Yeah.
I haven't put more. I mean, this spring, and I probably we're going to get going about. Last year it was the 15th of March. This year I think I'll start planting in here. I think I can start planting right
I
now.
bet you could.
Pods
With some
good.
seeds. Yeah, I mean if I really wanted to.
Your kale and all your cold stuff.
Yeah, this is a lettuce that grew back. Those 3 right by you, those stumps, those are cabbages that I whacked off, and now they're growing back.
Now, when I was here when you were building it, I thought you were going to put in a solar, a solar-powered thing to open your windows so that when you're not here.
Yeah,
Is that what these are?
Well, these are vents, because in the summer it'll get 200 degrees in here if you don't vent it.
Right.
So these are just vents. But what I did this summer is you just leave them open.
Just leave them open all the
And I
time.
leave the door open, and the breeze comes right on through. And in August, it still gets hot up here, but they did fine. And what I've noticed is the fruit on the tomatoes are a little thicker when it gets a little hotter. You know, they don't grow as quickly, but the skin got a little thicker. But I'm not using these for my tomatoes, and by that time, my tomatoes in the garden were going bad, so I had lots of tomatoes there. And so this really, it was like in May and June I have tomatoes, and then I'll have them in October, November, and I picked about 30 or 40 tomatoes in December that were just wonderful. My second picking was about the 15th of December. Then after that, we got a lot of overcast days, and I didn't have nearly as many tomatoes.
Wow.
But, most of the plants are still alive, except this is a Roma, and I think he's about dead. But these others are early growths, and there's still quite a bit of life in them.
Does the soil get really dry? How often do you have to water the soil?
Some are about every 3 days.
So that's still not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's better than probably an average garden, but see, that's the secret behind this mix. The vermiculite is a rock, and it absorbs water. And peat moss absorbs water. So that's what they're in this soil for, that and its luminosity.
And you don't need a fan or anything. You get plenty of ventilation with that and with the door.
Yep. Almost, I can't remember, there's no weeds in here because they can't get in.
Right.
The only weeds I've got is if I brought a plant in from a store or from a friend and this might have been a little seed or something like that.
Wow.
Almost no pests in here. I do get a few pests. But the ones I did get, I think I brought, and I learned this year from a little magazine I take, when you bring a plant home from any store or anywhere, you don't put it in your greenhouse for a week. See what comes out of the bug life. And so I did get some neotodes and a couple little things, but I blasted them.
This is incredible.
But I had massive cauliflowers in here. I mean, they were this big, pure white, grew several... and Joseph did 2 pineapples. We've harvested some pineapples, 2 pineapples this year.
Wow.
Now they were already pineapple plants and the fruit had already set, but we finished the process. So it was neat when people would come in and there'd be pineapple plants sitting there.
And you ate it and it tasted good?
Wonderful.
Wow.
It was delicious. You know the hard core?
Yeah.
It wasn't hard.
No hardcore, because it ripened all the way. It didn't get picked when it was green.
Yeah, and they were a little smaller. They were probably, about this big, Joseph? But they were marvelous.
I wonder if you could do melons in here then.
Well, I started watermelon in here, and then I transplanted them out there. Let me see if I got them on my phone.
Melons take a lot of room,
Yeah.
and if you can, you start them in here, but you need to grow them in the main garden. They just take up too much room.
And it didn't, I thought they were supposed to be transplant sensitive, but not.
I planted them from seeds. And then I had some in here, but most of them I had in pots, and then I just took the pots out.
Oh, gotcha.
And that's what I do, I'll show you the pots. When I go to the store and stuff, save all of these, because what I learned, because I'm learning, I planted, let me hold on a second, let me get this here for you. I planted, that's a few of my watermelon and cantaloupes that I got this year.
That's cool.
Anyway, last year, not knowing what it's doing, I did learn that you take your little planters that you buy, and there's 6 rows, and they go out, whatever. And what I learned there is you take each one of those little pods and you put about 10 seeds in it, like so, tomato seeds. So I had, and I only used a couple of packs.
We're going to try and get your melons really quick. That is incredible.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Wow.
Anyway, what I did is I grew those plants, and then when so you have a little pod, and then they grow about that tall, and you spread them apart, and you're supposed to, to take them out, and then little stringy things, and then you put them in, then you plant them into to a bigger pot. Well, I was using the small styrofoam cups, because I just went and bought a package of those, and they did well. And then a few I ran out, so I put them in these great big pots that I just happened to have. And before I transplanted them to the garden or give them away, I ended up with like 160 tomato plants. I was giving tomatoes to everybody in the world because they germinated so well in here. But so what I learned is the plants that were in here, instead of in smaller ones, and even smaller than this, were 2 or 3 times bigger.
Wow.
And that's because of the roots and everything, they just have more nutrition and everything. So I'm only going to use this instead of the small ones this year.
So do you just cut down the side when you put them in the garden rather than disturbing the roots? Do you just crumble the cup a little bit and plant it in the garden, or do you peel that off?
Yeah, these are great, because all I do is I take a pin and I go poke, and that makes the drainage hole. And you put it in here, and I usually don't put too much soil, especially with tomatoes, because you can put it more, as the tomato grows, you can increase it up the stalk, and the stalk becomes part of the root system. It's another thing I learned. And then this is my cup, it's almost full. The tomato plant's this tall when you're ready to transplant it. And all you do is just go crunch, 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 and it just, whoop, and it pretty much falls out into your hand.
And you just reuse the cups?
If it doesn't damage it too much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to using the soil blockers,
Uh-huh.
and they work really well. As soon as you figure out your soil, this soil mix works pretty good here with this.
Yes.
Just regular potting soil to get it mixed up good.
You have the little maker?
Yeah, I bought the maker.
Mm-hmm.
But there's ways you can make them too to be easy enough to make. But I just put those in the tinfoil, disposable things.
Yep.
And sub-irrigate them, and they do really well. Because I like using those too. I use the paper ones, just that's what we had.
Yeah, you use what you got. And the soil blocker, I actually was going to get one, but what I learned, well not learned, but I don't want that many plants. Because I had plants, this whole row up here, I planted probably about 15 underneath, on the same area. But by the stalks, by the tomatoes, you can climb up this ladder if you'd like.
Oh, my battery's running out. Did anybody else bring their anything?
My
Well, I didn't realize that there was like metal under here and wood under there, and okay, so that's a growing box. You don't have pots up there. That's a growing box. Like this is a growing box. Okay. I've got like 2 minutes left. Is there any huge word of wisdom that you can share with us in 2 minutes?
Well, just do it and you'll learn.
Okay.
I learned more about gardening in the last year than I had all my years combined, and I never that big of a gardener, but it's been a lot of fun. But the main thing is just get going. If you're going to do, and you don't have to do one like this or one like Joseph's, do one like you can do, you know, whether it's bigger or fatter or smaller or whatever.
Was it complicated when you had the cement workers come in for them to figure out what you wanted? It was pretty straightforward and...
Yeah, now the angle is, this angle is not as steep as what they recommend. If you go by our latitude and longitude, if you go by that, we're going to be this would be almost like a 76 degree, and that would look really, really bad.
Strange.
I think strange in my neighborhood. So what I did is I didn't worry about the angle. I thought, okay, because I looked at Joe's, his is not as steep as mine, so I knew it was going to be okay. So what I did is, okay, if I go down 8 or 9 feet here and I go up 12, 13 feet there, whatever that angle is going to be fine.
Okay.
And I think it turned out to be around a 40-degree angle.
Okay. Fabulous.
Now, if I did have it up higher, I would get a little more sun if I wasn't so deep.
But they don't look like they mind.
No.
I mean, they don't look like they're light starved, and as it gets later in the year, even more so.
I bet they hear another couple of weeks, some of them be right there.
Yeah, and in the middle of the winter, the nice part about this too, like we are right now, it's cold, it's nasty, the wind's blowing, you come in here and it's 80 or 100 degrees. See, even just since the little bit of shadow came down here, it's dropped 20 degrees up here.
Wow.
But it's these, what I've learned about plants is they want to live. These plants, they want to live. I mean, all these little seeds, these baby seeds, they want to live. These strawberries there by you, I had strawberry hanging in plants up here. They sent shooters all the way down, about 3 or 4 feet shooters, and then they touched the soil, and wherever they touched the soil, they made
So they're volunteer. Those are volunteer strawberries.
Those are all volunteer strawberries. Yeah.
That is incredible.
Now, the potted plants I took out in the garden, and I buried them in some mulch and stuff, so they'll be ready for... They went through the winter. And these guys, as you can see, they're winterizing too, but they never, they'll have a head start on everybody because they have it totally wet dormant.
Wow.
Have you looked into aquaponics at all?
A little bit. Yeah,
I'm wanting to kind of get into that.
Yeah, you want to do it a lot bigger than I do, I think. You know, I just want to have fun and grow a I got a huge garden out here, which if you heard of the Back to Eden garden planting.
Oh, yeah.
I've been doing that.
They're beautiful.
I'm almost 2 years now.
Wow.
I've been doing that. So I've got 2 years worth of growth, or worth of deterioration.
I started that about 3 or 4 years ago before I ever seen that film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's just one of those things that I wanted to do it because I needed inexpensive mulch.
Yeah.
And it works really well.
What I really like about it, this last year, I did it a year ago last fall, and what I like about it is this last year, you know, it's not deteriorated enough to make any difference in the nutrients in my garden and all that stuff, but what it does is, when you have to weed, it's like weeding on a sponge.
Yeah.
And it's not like this. I can compact this. But that stuff out there, it sponges. It comes right back, so you don't compact it in, and that really makes it nice.
Where do you get your mulch?
I get, 2 different places. One over here at, first I put a layer down about 6 inches of horse manure and straw that they put in the stalls and stuff. So you've got urine, manure, and which is all really good. The urine's got lots of nitrogen in it. And the straw, and then sawdust they'd thrown in. So that's my plate, my initial plate. And then I put about 5 or 6 inches of wood chips on top of that. And I got most of them from Yellowstone Lumber over here. I have a full-size truck pickup, and it's $12 to go get a full load of.
But don't they make you load it with a shovel? Because when I called them, they said I had to load it with a shovel.
Right. Yeah. It takes me all by myself, about 20 minutes to load one.
You're stronger than me then.
Well, even the way I look at it is once you have your base, and I hired a couple of kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it so much in the garden. I've got a 23 tree orchard right by the garden. And so last fall, I laid down weed guard. I had to mow it. Going around 23 trees in an area is not fun. So I laid the weed guard down, and a couple of kids I hired, they were running back and forth with truckloads. And so we did it. But it's there, and then these tree companies that are running around, cutting down trees, and with the little chippers on the back, they were over here on my road last summer, whenever it was. And I asked them, do you need a place to put your chips? And they said, well, we haul them off, and other people want them. And I said, well, what do you like to drink? And I said, well, I like Sprite. And the other guy says, I like beer. So I went and got a case of Sprite and a case of beer, and I got 2 loads out here that's now deteriorating. And they're big loads, and there's a lot of chips there. And the neat thing about them, it's better than going to Yellowstone, because Yellowstone pretty much uses one type of tree. These guys are using 30, 40 different kinds of plants and trees and everything. So you have a greater mix of options there.
Yeah, I've got everything on mine, clear from the pine to, so I was out kind of digging around yesterday, and where part of the, you know, the shadow of the house, where it's